Good morning, everybody. I am a few minutes early, which is always my preference. Sometimes I may be a few minutes late, but I always try to be a little early because I am of the early is on time is late camp. So let me make sure that our sound is good here. Just a second. Yep, sound is working. Okay. There's a scratch. Okay. I was trying to see what that was on my sofa. Okay, look, I said sofa. That was the influence from my husband's family. Good morning, Jennifer. It's so good to see you. I'm actually going to answer one of your questions first thing in this video after I get done with a little housekeeping. This is not my preference to be in the living room. I'm surrounded by dogs, and I'm hoping that they behave today. We shall see. Good morning, Betty. I will tell you, I have far more faith in the Father than I do of my dogs to behave. Few little housekeeping things. Good morning, Mignon. I love you, sister. Good morning, Jennifer. First of all, we have about 7 weeks until we begin the new reading cycle. Now is the time to invite your friends, to tell them about the group, to try to get anybody that you want to read through this with, anybody that you think might want to join us, they need to join now. Those 7 weeks are going to pass quickly. Once January 1st gets here, there will be no new members added to the group for 1 year. And that's very important. That is a rigid rule, okay? The reason being that we read the whole list of the Father's Word from start to finish. We begin together, we end together. We are not going to just have people hopping in Matthew or something. No, you got to start you begin at the beginning, just like the Father did. So that's important to us. Also, we have over 1,000 people right now who have been invited by people, but they haven't answered the questions. So if you've invited friends and they're not in here, that's fine. You need to tell them. Another thing to know is that this year, this next reading cycle, which begins January 1st, we will not have an email list. So if people want to take part, the best way to take part in our Bible reading plan is to join the Facebook group. If they're not on Facebook, they can create an account just to be in this group, or they can go along on their own on the website, but there won't be daily email reminders. So that's not going to happen this year, but we are going to have some other things in place to kind of help us remember. But you do need to try to kind of rally the troops right now. If you have anybody that you think may want to be in the group, there's always people. I had several people I let in the group when we first started opening membership again who have been waiting a year. Like, they began reading with us about a month in and they wanted to be in the group and they missed it because they didn't join in time. So this is important. The Facebook group is where all the discussion takes place. It's where you can ask questions. You can see what other people are asking about. We learn a lot from each other because this is a community of Bereans. This is a community of people who are seeking daily the Father's Word. And we have some amazing questions which cause us all to go deeper and to draw closer to Him. And we have some amazing insight from everybody in the group. So I really want to encourage you to do that. The reason why we're not having an email list is everything is growing. The group is growing. We're over 15,000 now in this group. We have another group that has a couple thousand, and we still have more joining. And I want to make sure that the model I move forward with is one that is sustainable and that doesn't have to be changed, modified, or revisited to try to figure things out as we continue to grow. An email list can be very expensive. And my previous life, which we'll talk about that in a minute, I had an email list that would cost as much as $800 a month because of the amount of subscribers I had. And so I've just decided we're not going to do that. I have prayed a lot about it. And I know that if the Bible is important to us, we will wake up thinking about it first thing. So if there's a free Bible study available online and my heart is seeking the Father and I'm wanting to read His Word and I'm wanting to go deeper and understand, then I get very excited about that. And it's not a hardship for me to remember. He doesn't take a day off from being our God. He wakes up every day. Well, not that He sleeps, but every morning He thinks of us. And I don't want to imagine that his people don't do the same of him. I know that's the case in a lot of cases, but we're going to move beyond that. And another reason, I've had so many people offer to help. I've had a lot of people very generously, very good-heartedly offer to help with the cost of the site. I don't want to do that, and I appreciate that. I really appreciate that, but that's not how we're doing things. My current orders from the Father are to rely on Him, and He has made a way, and He will continue making a way. And my concern about myself is that if I start relying on others to help, that I will then start wanting to please others. And all I want to please is the Father. He's the only one I'm looking to please here. I have finally, through years of prayer, I'm in a position now where that's all I have to be concerned with is pleasing the Father. And I'm really grateful because He's put me in that position. Diana Pierce had, good afternoon from Scotland. Hello, Alex. Diana Pierce had a wonderful comment. She asked if I would do more personal videos with me and my husband Ricky talking and stuff. And so I asked for her insight. I'm like, well, what would you like to see in those videos? Because I don't know what, I only know what it's like on this side of the camera. And she had some great insight, and I've been taking it to heart and really thinking over it. One of the things that she pointed out is that a lot of y'all came here through my previous career, and that's how you know me. And so you know a lot about me. And there's a lot of new people who have no idea who I was in my former life, which I retired from as of a month ago. So I want to give you kind of just a little brief rundown of that, but at the same time tell you where my heart is with this. So I had a website called Southern Plate, and I've had 3 best-selling books. I've traveled all over the country. I've been on all kinds of TV networks. I've done all kinds of things. I've worked with all kinds of famous people. I've done entire TV series and things like that. And it was a blessing. And you can Google me if you want to. I would not. I try not to ever Google myself. But all of that brought me here. I have been praying for a couple of years that the Father would allow me to focus fully on this. And He brought about a way for me to do that. Now, in my previous life, I was very much considered a personality, an influencer is what people call it. And so it was... understandably, a lot of what I did was kind of centered around me and my family and my life and things like that. And while I want to have that personal connection with you, I'm not really interested in promoting myself. That was part of my other career, If I have some insight into your life, I want to if you're focused on me, I want to take your hand and take you to the Father. Focus on Him. Oh, let me see. Brenda says, I want a KitchenAid mixer you gave away. Thank you so much. Yeah, one year I gave away over $10,000 in appliances on Southern Plate. So that was really cool. But that was a sponsored thing anyway. But at the same time, I also realized that a lot of you don't know who I am, and you need a glimpse into my life. You need to know who I am in order to trust me. And I want to tell you, and so I'm going to kind of open up, and I'll be a little more open about things and relate to my personal life a little more in chat videos. You'll see that coming up. But also, when you read my notes, through the coming year, you will get to know me. You'll know my heart. Thing I want you to know about me is that I don't need you to follow me. I'm not setting myself up as an example. I'm not anything to strive for or any person to strive to be like. I am somebody who is saved by grace through faith in our Messiah. And I serve the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob with my whole heart. And he has changed everything. And from the moment I set my heart to serve him, there is not a speck of my life that hasn't been blessed as a result. And for all that he has done for me, and for all the grace and love and kindness that he shows me, I just want to show that to others. And I want to tell of his goodness. And I want you to seek him with your whole heart, because he's calling us to him. And I can't imagine a more wonderful goal in life than to know him. So that's my that's my goal. And I'll read all these comments in a little bit. But I have a lot that I want to talk to you about today. And I hope that you will, you show me so much grace as it is. I know that I appreciate that. But I have notes. I normally don't like to do notes. I like to just kind of have it memorize what I want to talk about. But sometimes there's too much to say, and it's too important. And so y'all forgive me for consulting my notes today. And so we're going to start. The Father teaches me so much based on my own life experiences. Every day is a lesson in knowing him. Every day is a lesson in growing closer to him. Every experience can be used. He uses every experience to draw us closer to him. And so I want to tell you a little bit about what's going on in my life right now. I retired a month ago, and now I'm full-time, all in. Hey, Nosy. That's my cat, Nosy, my daughter's cat. But our home is very much in upheaval right now. We are having a lot of work done, and we're just getting started. So we began a couple weeks ago. We had to have trees cut down. We have a yard full of pine trees that are over 100 feet tall, and some of them were very close to our house, and there were a couple that were dying that were really close to the house. And so that was dangerous. And we had a lot of trees cut down. And it was nerve-wracking. It took about a week. Those of you who share my dismay at going to the dentist, you'll understand this. It sounded like dental work was being done on the entire universe outside my house for a week. So we had those taken down. Then we had a deck in the back that was actually in decay, and we needed to have that removed. And so after they cut the trees down, they came earlier this week, and it took them a couple of days, and they demolished our deck, and they took that down. That's Honey. They took that down, and they had to haul all that away. Now, we are going to have, and I'm getting to a point, this is all going to come back to a point, I promise. We're going to have a patio poured instead of a deck. We want something a little more permanent, something a little more, Brenda says, I had some trees cut several years ago, I understand. It is something. And every time they fall, the entire world shakes. So if y'all felt booms this week, it was my yard. But anyway, we wanted something more permanent. We wanted something solid, something that would last. And so we're having a patio poured. And we're looking forward to that. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be really nice. But now we have another problem. The patio, well, they're coming this weekend to grind all the stumps from all those trees. So actually they're coming today. So that's more dental work sounds to me. Then they will be pouring the patio next week. That will take a week because they're going to stamp the concrete and all this neat stuff. So we're looking forward to that. But here's our other problem. We know that that's coming. We don't have anyone to build steps to get out of our back door to the patio. So right now we're still waiting. Where we live, it is a process because of our government, and we are going to have. There's a lot of hoops to jump through, and we've found, to our dismay, that we're going to have to pay a lot more because of where we live. We're going to have to pay more to have steps built than people in other places wouldn't, for a couple of different reasons. But my husband's on top of it. Don't worry, we don't need referrals or anything. We're on top of it. We're moving on faith here. All that to say, there's a lot of upheaval in our home right now. And we're going to come back to this in a minute, and I'm going to explain what that has to do with it. Today's video, the topic is trusting in the Father. And I want to talk to you about that. I'm going to read some from the Word too, because to quote the Princess Bride, Inigo Montoya, you keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means. And I think a lot of people, they don't understand what trust actually means. Trusting in the Father. So I want to read to you. I have a lot of favorite books in the Bible, and you're going to learn about that. If you're about to start reading through with us, you're going to learn. I have a lot of favorite books in the Bible. But one of them, I love 1st and 2nd Kings and 1st and 2nd Chronicles. Love them. So let me read to you some of the things in here. When you read 1st and 2nd Kings and 1st and 2nd Chronicles, it's introducing you to the kings of two different kingdoms. And we'll go through all this. You'll learn as you go. But there's Israel and Judah. These are two kingdoms at the time. And it's going back and forth telling you about this king of Israel, this king of Judah, this king of Israel, this king of Judah. It goes back and forth telling you all these things. And each king is judged by this one measure. And I have my Bible. I have mine marked up pretty good. Let me show you. I write in my Bible a lot. I interact with my Bible. You see, these are purple. That's a line about each king. Those are different kings. And every now and then, you'll see a green line right here. Let me tell you what the purple lines are saying. It'll introduce the king, tell who he's the son of, and then it'll say, and he did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. I'm reading from the ESV translation. And he did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. And then here's another king. And he did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. And he did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. And he did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. And he did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. Now, what's happening when these kings do what's evil in the sight of the Lord? They're going their own way. They are leaning on their own understanding. They are acting and living by their own wisdom. So here's the cool thing. We get to, 2 Kings 18, Hezekiah. And I'm going to read a little bit of this to you. In the 3rd year of Hoshea, son of Elah, king of Israel, Hezekiah, the son of Ahaz, who, by the way, his father did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. And we read that in 2 Kings 17. Let's see. King of Judah began to reign. He was 25 years old when he began to reign. And he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. And he did what was right in the sight of the Lord. Now, you're going to really be especially excited to read this once we get to this point in our reading, because you'll read all these. He did what was evil. He did what was evil, depicting it. So to finally read this, like, yes, finally. According to all that David, his father, had done, that means he's a descendant of David. He removed the high places and broke the pillars and cut down the Asherah. He broke in pieces the bronze serpent that Moses had made. For until those days, the people of Israel had made offerings to it. They took something that was a symbol that the Father gave them, and they used it, they turned it into an idol. He trusted in the Lord, the God of Israel, so that there was none like him among all the kings of Judah after him, nor among those who were before him. So we have just had this held up, King Hezekiah, as this amazing model. He trusted in the Father. He trusted in the Father. So what did he do? What does that mean that he trusted in the Father? What does that look like? It tells us right after that, for he held fast to the Lord. He did not depart from following him, but kept the commandments of the Lord, that the Lord commanded Moses. And the Lord was with him. Whenever he went out, he prospered. He kept the commandments. That's what's held up. He trusted in the Lord. He held fast to him, and he kept his commandments. That's what trusted in the Lord looked like for him. We say, oh, I trust in Jesus. I just trust in Jesus. We trust him to save us. But what does that mean? Just trusting in him. There's actually an action on our part. Trusting in him requires an action on our part. You don't just say, I believe in him. I believe. A lot of people will teach that all you have to do is say you believe and you're saved. But Messiah's own brother, James, his name was Jacob, but we'll get to that later. He told us that, you say you believe, what to do? Even demons believe. Even demons believe. And so I don't want to just say I believe. I don't want to have a faith that is equivalent to that of demons. I want to go beyond that. We treat trusting in him sometimes like we're signing him up to be our servant. We trust in him to follow us around, protect us from car accidents, bless our wealth, give us money for things, help us, follow us, protect us, and everything. We act like we're signing him up to be our servant. Father, you see to my every need. You follow me and see to my every need. That's what God's going to be to me. But he's not our slave. He is not our servant. He is our Father. He's our God. So if you trust in your Father, what does that mean? When your Father speaks, you sit up and listen. You pay attention. When he tells you to do something, you do it. When he shares his wisdom, you realize that he knows more than you do. And when you think arrogantly that you know more, but then he contradicts that, you be like, oh, you have to rethink. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Our regard for him should match this. Our regard for the Father. We trust in his wisdom over our own. Over our own. In the Bible, there's a word. A lot of times when you see here in the Bible, the original word in Hebrew was Shema. And Hebrew is a much more nuanced language than English. And so we lose a lot of meaning when we translate it. Shema doesn't just mean to hear. It's translated as hear. It doesn't mean to hear. It means hear and do. So when the Father says, when he speaks, when he tells us to jump, there's two responses. Yes, Lord, or how high. It's hear and do. And I want to bring that back to all this that's going on with our house right now. So we had to make some changes because things weren't as they needed to be in our home. I had to make some changes in my life to follow him. The first thing we did was we removed all those big dead trees that were up by the house. We had to remove the things that endangered our house. As a believer, I had to do the same. There were some things when I decided to follow him, there were some things that he immediately showed me that were not conducive to being a child of the King, that did not reflect well on him, that had no place in the life of someone representing him. And so I had to remove them. Now, I don't mean to make that sound like that was a one-time deal. The Father shows me much grace in that he didn't reveal all I was going to have to do at the start. He's patient with me. So I'm constantly, it's a process. We're being refined. Then the second thing is we had to have that deck torn down. It was decaying. It was in very bad shape. It was not stable. But it looked like it from some people. From some vantage points, it actually looked stable. But we had to take some structures down in our lives. We had to take some structures apart. we had to clear away a faulty foundation that was made of something temporary, and in order to be able to lay a more permanent foundation in our lives. And that's very much in line with what we do with the Word. When we start reading, when you start letting the Father speak, when we start developing that first-hand relationship with the Word, we're going to see that a lot of the things that people say he said are not what he said. So we're gonna have to make some changes there. We had a foundation that was affected by weather, that was affected by changes in the wind, and we're replacing that with something solid. And now we have a plan, and we know what it's going to look like. We actually have pictures. We were looking through a book last night, and we have pictures that show us what our new patio is going to look like. And we know that that's coming, and we have that we're in the process of getting there. But you know what? My dog's going a little wild. We don't know how we're going to reach there. We don't have the steps. We don't have a plan for the steps, and we don't know exactly what they're going to look like, and we don't know when they're going to be put in place. But we have the sureness that it's going to happen, and we trust in the person who's laying that foundation. The person that we hired to do our patio is somebody who has done things for us before. He's done things for friends. He's a good person, and we trust in him. He's laying our foundation. And he is also helping us find somebody to build those stairs. And of course, if you haven't recognized it, those stairs, that's our Messiah. That's how we get from point A to point B. That's how we go from being sinful to justified, from being unclean to clean. That's through our Messiah. So there's a lot of upheaval in our lives right now, and it's going to continue for a couple of weeks. And I'm not living a very comfortable life in some ways because of what all's going on. You know, today I'm going to hear that dental work sound all outside my window all day. But I know that what's to come is worth it. I know that it's worth it. And just like we are held in the refiner's fire, when we set our hearts to serve him wholeheartedly, he is going to put us in that refiner's fire. And all those impurities that are within us, he is going to burn them away until we come out as if pure gold. He's going to put us in that refiner's fire. But when you're in the refiner's fire, it gets hot and it's not comfortable. And it can be scary sometimes. But you have to remember that when you're being held in that refiner's fire, whose hand is holding you? Whose hand is holding you? There is no better place to be. As a country right now, we are looking at the sin all around us. And we're acting like that's the problem. The sin around us is the problem. But that's only a symptom of the problem. These sinners around us, they're not even in covenant with the Father. We're holding them to the standards of covenant when they're not in covenant. A bigger problem is the sins of God's people. These are symptoms of the sins of God's people. We're here to be the light. And when the light is absent, the world goes dark. When the light is on, the world, it gravitates to it. Just like in Exodus, when there was the plague of darkness, when the Father sent the plague of darkness over Egypt, if you read that, his people had light in their homes. And even further, the Hebrew word that's used for that light was or. And that's the light of the goodness of the Father. And so the entire world was placed in darkness. Egypt was covered in darkness, but his people had light in their homes. And that was because of his presence in their lives. We think we're following him. But in many ways, we're doing what's right in our own eyes. And we're doing what's evil in his eyes. we don't even read his instructions. I estimate from the Pew Research that's come out and stuff, fewer than 5% of believers read his word daily. We don't even read his instructions. And do you know how I know that? Because I'm a Southerner. Where did my Bible go? I think I dropped my Bible. Oh, it's right here in my lap. I'm a Southerner. One of our favorite gods is football down here. And I say that kind of lightheartedly, but there's a lot of grief undertone there. And so that's one of our favorite idols down here. And I've read the playbook. I've read the playbook. And I know that believers are not living according to his word because I've read the playbook and I recognize the play. We are doing everything he tells us over and over and over and over and over repeatedly not to do. That's how we're living our lives as believers today. So I know we're not reading the playbook. But there's another guiding principle in this book. There is another thing, another pattern that you will see time and again for God's people. And that's whenever a people stand condemned because of their own actions and their own repeated choices and their own stiff-neckedness and their repeated refusal to repent and humble themselves, the individual always has a choice. The individual always has a choice. We don't talk politics in this group. That is a rule that I feel very strongly about. And if I see anybody talking politics, I will delete the comment. So we're not talking politics. We're talking about biblical life here, okay? Right now, so many of God's people have so much faith in our leader that we think we're doomed if another one takes office. And that's as far as we're going with that, okay? We're that far removed from the power of God. That's how far removed we are. We're under judgment right now. And it's not because of how the world is acting. It's not because of how unbelievers are acting. It's because of how we are acting. It's because of our own actions. We are God's people. And whenever he judges a nation, he judges his people first. People talk about, I've seen so many people this week talk about how they're not able to sleep, how worried they are, how stressed they are, how they're watching the news every day. I see so many people talking about this, posting about this, so stressed and so worried about this. And I want you to think about something. I want you to think about how much time this week you have spent watching the news, reading the news, counting up how many electoral votes each state has, looking for new developments, reading about it on Facebook, talking to your friends about it, talking to your friends about the election, talking about, well, if this happens, then this is going to happen, and if this happens, then this is going to happen, and all this stuff. How much time have you spent this week consumed with that to one extent or another? Now I want you to think about how much time you have spent this week reading the Bible. We make time for what's important to us. Where is God on our priority list? And no, I'm not talking about, we'll justify, say, well, that's why I'm watching these. That's what, no, it doesn't work that way. The time we spend on that is not the same as time spent in his word. And the lower the Father goes on our priority list, the more we suffer the effects of being alienated from him. We are treating him as an afterthought. We say that we'll read his word if we have time, if we're not too busy, if we're not too tired. And then that time comes like, well, if I don't have anything else I'd really rather do, maybe I'll read his word. And that's the root of the illness. All this other stuff, these are just symptoms. The reason why people outside of the faith in our country and around the world view us as hypocrites is because we are. And if this is a test, we're failing. It's not about other people. It's about us. If God's people actively lived out the faith that we profess, we would make world news by sundown tonight. But we don't. We just play like it. We are no different from the Pharisees. Matthew 23:27 says, "Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You are like whitewashed tombs, which look beautiful on the outside, but on the inside are full of the bones of everything dead and unclean." Beautiful on the outside, but inside full of everything dead and unclean. We're doing what's right in our own eyes. We make time for what's important to us. What have we showed God this week about where our faith lies and what's important to us? We've been under judgment for quite some time, and that is an earned judgment. But we need to realize that a people may stand condemned, but the individual always has a choice. And that's where it begins. This is not about other people. This is not about elections. This is not about politics. This is about each one of us. And that's where the difference begins. A people may stand condemned, but the individual has a choice. Today, we need to let go of what we're hanging on to in the world. Let go. We can't just hold on to him with one hand. We got to let go of this and hold on to him with both. I am wholly and fully convinced that we could watch no news, read no news, do nothing but read his word every day, and we would be wholly equipped and prepared to be a light in the world and to handle whatever comes our way. So that's what trusting in God means. Both hands. There's no crutches in this world. There's nothing in this world that we can rely on or that we should have our faith in. It's all in him. He directs and appoints the kings for his purpose and according to his goodwill. And if there is a king and I'm using a biblical term for leader. If there's a king that brings us to our knees and it causes us to come to our knees before him, blessed be that. Blessed be whatever hardship leads us to him. And I thank him for it. So that was my heart I wanted to share with you today. Thank you. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, everybody. And that's my whole point this morning. So now we'll kind of come down off the ceiling a little bit. But thank you so much. Thank you, Valerie. He is our only hope. He is our only hope. I had a really good question from Jennifer yesterday actually. Oh, thank you. That was sweet. Barbara says, "You made my 50-mile commute seem like a minute." That's funny because a 50-mile commute with my husband sometimes seems like a lifetime when he's riding with me. No, I joke. I'm joking. Ricky and I love going on road trips, and he'll talk about, that's like a 10-hour trip. That's like a 10-hour drive. And I say, yes, but you couldn't ask for better company. I had a really neat question from Jennifer, and I've been asked this a lot lately, is if you follow me on my personal Facebook, Brenda says, what were your different color highlights for? In the Bible, are you talking about when I showed you that section in Kings? So everybody, all the kings who did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, I did that in purple. And those who did what was good in the eyes of the Lord, I did in green. Keep in mind that when we do what's evil in the eyes of the Lord, we often call it good. The Bible tells us that we often call it good. Thank you, Carmen. But I've had a lot of people, if you follow me on my personal Facebook page, you know that I post a lot of these things. I write, this is what I've done in the past 2 days. I write a lot of Bible verses on index cards, and I post them on my personal Facebook page. You're welcome to follow me there if you want to. You can friend me there if you want to. I do want to tell you, if you want to contact me, rather than Facebook Messenger, the best way to do that is through my personal email, and that's wholeheartedcj@gmail.com. That's my new email. A lot of y'all know me from Southern Plate. I don't access those emails anymore. I don't own those emails anymore. I am wholeheartedcj@southernplate.com, and that is wholehearted, ed. But I get a lot of questions asking me what I do with all these cards, and I wanted to show y'all. First I want to read a few, and then I want to show you. Oh, I just love these. Love each other devotedly with brotherly love, and set an example for each other in showing respect. That's Romans 12:10. Do not let yourselves be conformed to the standards of the world. Romans 12:2. Sorry, there's a lot of conforming going on today. I see a lot of believers running around like the sky is falling, as if our God didn't put the sky where it is. And so our faith is just, fools suppose their way is straight, but the wise pay attention to advice. That's Proverbs 12:15. The words of the Father are pure words, silver in a melting pot, set in the earth, refined and purified 7 times over. His words. And y'all, that's what is here. He meant for us to read it. He gave this to us. You know how many people have died just to be able to try to read the word or to bring the word to other people? I love this. Well, I don't love this. I'm sorry. It speaks to me is what I mean. It speaks to my soul. Help, Father, for no one godly is left. The faithful have vanished from humankind. They all tell lies to each other, flattering with their lips, but speaking from divided hearts. That really spoke to me, the word divided at this time. Psalm 12:1-2. And here's what you need to take from this. A people may stand condemned, but an individual has a choice. If you're looking around to see if you're the only one before you move, there's a problem. Though none go with me, I will follow. We're supposed to be following him. And he tells us the path is narrow, and he tells us we're going to be rejected, and he tells us we're going to be alone. And we say, oh, I would die for you. I would die for you. But in reality, when it comes down to it, most of us won't be inconvenienced for him. It's hard for him to believe we die for him when we're not even willing to be a little uncomfortable. Every wise woman builds up her home, but a foolish one tears it down with her own hands. Oh, Deborah, what a peace we often forfeit. That's right. Oh, yes. That's Proverbs 14:1. We're tearing down a lot these days. He came ashore. He saw a huge crowd, and filled with compassion for them, he healed those of them who were sick. This is Matthew 14:14. I love that. He saw a huge crowd of people, and he was filled with compassion for them. We tend to place conditions on whether or not we're going to feel compassion for people these days. I guarantee you there were people in that crowd who didn't look like Messiah, who didn't talk like Messiah, who weren't from where Messiah was from, who would have voted differently from Messiah. And it doesn't say he saw a huge crowd and he looked for the ones that he agreed with, and then he helped them. It says he saw a huge crowd. So let's go ahead and believe this is going to be a mixed multitude of people. And he was filled with compassion for them. This one, the Father is my strength and my shield. My heart trusts in him and he helps me. My heart leaps for joy, and with my song I praise him. He is our strength and our shield. I don't have a shield. Anyway, I won't go into that. What is around it? He is my strength and my shield. He is my source. He is the living water from which I drink. Yet even now, says the Father, turn to me. Yet even now, after all of this, turn to me with all your heart. Not just partial. He's not interested in a part-time relationship with us. He doesn't like you in that way. With all of your heart, with fasting, weeping, and lamenting, humble yourself. Tear your heart and not your garments, and turn to your God, for he is slow to anger, rich in grace, and willing to change his mind about disaster. Willing. We can cause him to turn to us, but it's not going to be through, when we read about Israel, it's 2 Samuel. The Father had appointed people to rule over Israel, to judge righteously according to his word and his will. But that wasn't good enough for Israel. They looked around and they said, we want to be like these other nations. We want a king. We want to be like these other nations. And that started the pattern of the kings that we see in 1st and 2nd Israel, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, and on up to his people today. That started the pattern. And when we're reading the word together, you'll notice that most of the time, he didn't give them the king they needed. He gave them the king they deserved. And that caused them to wake up. Hopefully. Most of the time it didn't. Just like with us. Most of the time it didn't. But I've noticed that in my life, whenever I start following a person, which, it's easy to drift because you see somebody who's talking about the Father and you start following them, instead of just gleaning from them, you'll actually start following them. Whenever I start following a person, they will inevitably disappoint me. You hear my dog snoring. I have 2 dogs snoring. They will inevitably disappoint me. And I have learned to see that as a grace and a blessing that causes me to love him all the more, because it reminds me, it wakes me up, and it reminds me, I didn't realize I had started to follow them, Father. Thank you. At first, when that happened the first couple of times, it really hurt me, and it actually caused me to question the Father, because this person was supposed to be following them, and they made a mistake. And then I realized, no, that was a blessing given to me through them, through their mistake, because it made me wake up and realize I'm looking to the wrong person. Anytime we start looking to something for our source of strength and faith and surety, that something, Father, in his love, is going to cause that to falter, to help us to realize we're looking to the wrong thing. Here's one I posted. I changed this. I changed this a little bit. It's Psalm 19:14. May the words of my mouth and the thoughts of my heart be acceptable in your presence, my rock and redeemer. And I changed that. May the words of my Facebook and the thoughts of my heart be acceptable. If the Father were to look at your Facebook right now and your last 2 or 3 posts, what's your heart showing him? Because we make time for what's important to us. We uphold what's important to us. We give our life, our energy, our words, and our thoughts to what's important to us. And so that tells him. You used to be like people living in the dark, but now you are people of the light because you belong to him. So act like people of the light. That's going to be another failing grade, should that be a test. And I'll quit reading verses after this one. we're in Jeremiah in the spring group right now, which is very difficult. It's kind of it's a heart check every day. It's a gut check. My people are fools. Now listen, he does not saying the world is fools. He's not saying these evil people are fools. He's saying my people are fools. My people are fools. They do not know me. Now how can they be his people if they don't know him? Well, they count themselves as his people. They strut around and are known by being his people. But he's saying they don't actually know me. They haven't taken the time to really get to know me. My people are fools, they do not know me. They are senseless children. They have no understanding. They are skilled at doing evil. They do not even know how to do good. These are indictments to his people. So let me show you what I do with all these cards. Because I have people ask me all the time, what do you do with all these cards? And I've only been doing this. I haven't been doing this like forever. But this is what I do with all these cards. I file them. I file them according to book. So this is my file. And about, I don't know, once a week, every couple of days, I will go in here and I will take the time to file them. My daughter files them for me a lot of times. So let me go file these. So we file them in alphabetical order according to the book that they're in. I don't know why I'm doing that. I don't know what I'm going to do with those. All I know is I start out my day in the Word. And I'm right now I'm reading through the Bible. I'm doing a 90-day reading plan. And I'm trying to read it in 60. And I think I will. I think I want to be done reading through it again by January before we start the new cycle. And as I'm reading, I highlight things that I want to write. Thank you, Jennifer. And then I so look forward to the evening. In the evening, I will go sit on the porch and I write out those verses. And I really enjoy it. And it's a little thing. It brings me joy. Let me see. Hey, Amy. Let's see. Ooh. Amy says, like the words of, and I can't even pronounce that name. There's a lot of words in the Bible I can't pronounce. Agar, surely I am more stupid than any man, and do not have the understanding of a man. I have neither learned wisdom nor have knowledge of the Holy One. And that's Proverbs 32:3. Yep. You know, a wise man realizes that he's not wise. A wise person knows that we have no wisdom of our own. He's the source of wisdom. And all wisdom and all truth comes from him. And we learn to lean on that. So when you see somebody who thinks they're wise in their own eyes. And I was reading one of my things. Oh, one of my verses. I had this great verse about that. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Let's see. You need me, Katie? Yeah, flip the switch, honey. Sorry. I had a really great verse about that. Let me find it. And see, this helps me kind of put these things on my heart. Ooh, I love that one. I'm sorry, I get so excited about words. Here's one. Don't associate with an angry man. Make no hot-tempered man your companion. If you do, you may learn his ways and find yourself caught in a trap. We have to be very careful who we associate with. Keep clear of a fool, for you won't hear a sensible word from him. Anybody who's wise in their own eyes, who thinks that they're a wise person of their own accord, we definitely don't need to be taking counsel from them. Yeah, it's a slippery slope, and we do have to guard our lives here. We have to guard our hearts. Ooh, sorry. You, Father, protect us, guard us forever from this generation. The wicked strut about everywhere, where vileness is held in general esteem. But again, I want to remind you that the Pharisees held other people accountable to commandments of the Father that they themselves did not live by. We in covenant should not expect others to live by the standards of the covenant when we ourselves don't even uphold them. He's not going to cast judgment first on the people who aren't in covenant with him. First, he comes for his own. So, Jennifer, Jennifer says, so the verses you write are just ones that stick out in your reading. Yeah, just things that speak to me. I try to also, I only follow people on Facebook who kind of post things that are edifying and uplifting to the Father. I like to follow people who post Bible verses and things. So I'll see things in my feed, and you know how you can save things, and I'll have a little group. It's called Verses, things I want to write out. So sometimes I see things on Facebook I want to write out, but mostly it's just in my reading, things that really strike me and speak to me. And you'll find that every time you read the Word, you'll notice different things. That's why it's so important for us to read it continuously over and over and over. And I just want to let y'all know, I have a motive. Please don't think that I don't have a motive for having you all in here. I have a motive, and I want to be wholly transparent in that. I want you to become daily Bible readers. The goal is never to read through the Bible just once. I want you to become daily Bible readers, because as we read, we grow. We become more mature in our faith. And, you know, we all start out on milk, and we move to those solid foods. And just like with a baby food, you know, you start your baby out on milk, and then you move them to stage 1, and then stage 2, and then stage 3. And eventually they can go in a restaurant and order everything off the menu and be able to eat it. That's what we're doing as we progress through the Word, as we read the Word time and again. And don't feel overwhelmed because you've never read the whole Word. A lot of people, before I had read the whole Word, I felt like I had to have a theology degree to be able to understand it. I felt like I wasn't going to be smart enough to get it. It was confusing. It was too much. I was overwhelmed. And I've come to see those are all impediments and stumbling blocks that the world has placed before us. It's a very successful campaign by the adversary to keep the Father's people from reading His Word. He meant for us to read this. It was written for us to read it. And He wants us to know it. And we're expected to know it. And we will be held accountable for how we treat His Word. We're held accountable for what's in this book. And if we ignore it, but we call ourselves believers, and we profess to be living in covenant with Him, and we ignore His Word, we're still held accountable to what's in this. So I want you to know that as you begin this reading cycle with us, you're going to understand it like never before. The Word is going to come alive for you. And I want to encourage you, and I will encourage you. And you will be amazed at what the Father speaks to your heart. And we have the greatest Bible teacher ever, and that is His Spirit. He will lead us through this. And so be encouraged, be strengthened, because it's going to be different this time. Commit to doing it. Set your heart to it. And remember, on January 1st, tune in here. January 1st. Mark your calendars, write a post-it note, set an alarm on your phone, tell your friends to remind you, do whatever you have to do. January 1st, show up in here. Okay? January 1st. Very important. Let me see what everybody's saying here. Yes. I'm trying to, sorry. Oh, that's a wonderful verse. Somebody just shared a verse. Let me try to get everybody here. Amy says that's the living nature of the Word of God. As we read it from day to day, week to week, the Holy Spirit will stir up and make alive, the Word He's planted in us when we read it directly from the source. That part that He's put in us comes alive, and that's what makes reading and understanding His Word so enriching and joyful. And I'm saying this is Amy. This may be Ben. It's Ben and Amy. I think I know y'all. Are y'all the Ben and Amy that I know? Let me know. Personally know. Yes, stay in His Word every day. Thank you. Yes, Christy. She says, thank you for reminding us that we can read it without a degree. Absolutely. In fact, I want to encourage you. When I had not really read the Bible much as a child, so when I was in my early 20s, there was a lot of things in the Bible that were still new to me. I had never actually read the whole Bible until probably about 5 years ago. And so when I was in my 20s, there was a lot of things in the Bible that were new to me. And I was in a class one time, and they were reading about the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And they were start reading this story, and they're talking about, oh, Nebuchadnezzar's going to throw them in the fire. And I'm like, what? And everybody's just sitting here kind of listening, because it was old hat for them. They knew it. And I'm like on the edge of my seat, and they're telling this story, and they throw them in the fire. And I'm just... really? And I'm thinking, and then what happened? And they said, and they looked down and they saw him dancing. I'm like, oh! I mean, I gasped out loud, and the whole class turns and looks at me. And at first, I was very embarrassed, because I was embarrassed because I didn't know this, and they all knew this. And then I realized it was just what was to them. But because it was new to me, the Father had kind of preserved me up until this time. I didn't miss out on the miracle of it. It was still, and to this day, I cannot read that without just gasping. So don't feel bad because you haven't read the whole Bible. Get excited, because this is the time that the Father has appointed for you to return to Him and to read His whole Word. And this is an amazing time to have the shingles fall and to come alive, to be awakened, to have your spirit awakened and called to Him. And that's exactly what's happened here. Be excited. And when I tell you to mark your calendar for January 1st, I'm not playing, okay? The great awakening is happening. The great return is happening. He tells us time and again in His Word, return to me and I will return to you. And we are returning. And if you're here and if you felt that stirring in your soul to read His Word, you are one of the people who has been called. You have been called. Yes, this is Michelle Harris. You'll get to know her. She's a great prayer warrior in our group. Each year reading the Bible, something different stands out, and I'm convinced it's the Father bringing me to attention to those verses. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, Michelle. Yes, Jennifer says she's amazed daily at how what we read is relevant to that day. Yes, that throws me. My sister's reading the same plan I'm reading. Several people in this group are reading the same plan. And we have like all these messages going, wow, can you believe this? Wow, did you see this in Romans? Wow, did you see this in Genesis? Because the plan we're doing kind of right now is we're reading, it's called The Word as a Way of Life. And I have instructions on how to read it. It's in this group. You can search and stuff. But you read a chapter from 12 different sections of the Bible every day. And it's amazing how many patterns and stuff. Oh, Jennifer, thank you so much. Jennifer Benson, thank you so much. Sally says this group helps with accountability and encouragement. Y'all, I'm telling you, this community, I'm so grateful to get to be a part of this community. You'll really see the Father's hand in here. Get ready, because you're really going to see His hand in here. Thank you, Christy. Yes. Maureen says the lack of a theology degree kept her detailed self without steadfastness or confidence. And Maureen, she is a very valuable member of this group. She's always commenting and posting and encouraging and stuff. So you'll see her a lot too. Yes. Ben and Amy said, like the parable of the sower in Luke 8, the good soul is the one who hears the word and holds fast to it, bearing fruit with patience. And when that seed blossoms and grows and bears the fruit, then we taste of it. And having trusted in His word and that little seed He planted in us, when it comes alive and bears fruit, it is super joyous. Oh, it's Ben. Thank you, Ben. It is Ben this morning. And thank you, Ben, for not being offended for me calling you Amy. I know y'all are very much like us. Ricky and I, we are a team. We are very much one, and we work together. And I'm not ever. Sometimes it's so funny because it depends on where we are. Sometimes I'm known as Ricky's wife, and we had to call a business this week for one of these things we're arranging, and they know of Ricky through my work, and he said it's Ricky Jordan. They're like, oh, is this Mr. Christy Jordan? And he was not the least bit offended. We both take joy and delight in being known by one another's reputation, because both of us hold one another up, and we know that we are each who we are, partly as a result of the blessing of God bringing us together. I didn't mean to say the God, but of God bringing us together. Yeah. Yes, it's Ben and Amy. It's the ones I know. Yep. So anyway, I hope that made sense. I'm reading what everybody's saying. My spirit is so stirred right now. I'm excited. Yes, be excited. It is a very exciting thing. Imagine tomorrow morning you woke up and you walked in your kitchen and there was an envelope on the table that had your name written on it, handwritten on it, and you opened it and it was a personal letter from the Father. How excited would you be? Because that's exactly what this is. That is exactly what this is. Thank you so much, Melissa. Yes. Okay, Joyce says, what you said about being called to him is true. My husband and I have been so hungry for the word the last 2.5 years. We can't read the Bible enough and are continually seeing more and more in that we hadn't before. Absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much. That's true. That is true. We have, I want y'all to know, I'm going to hold your hand if you need me to. I'm going to encourage you. This whole group is going to do the same thing. But if you've been a believer all your life, if you're a new believer, it doesn't matter. If you've never read the Word of God, if you've never read the whole Bible, and you feel that emptiness, like something is missing, if you feel that hunger, like you're trying to find nourishment, and you're just not getting enough, something's missing, I'm still hungry. If you've never read the whole Word of the Father and you have that feeling, you are right. Something is missing, and it's huge. And he's fixing to fill that need. We're coming to him, and he's going to feed us. I felt like all of my life, I was starving, and all I was finding are pieces of lettuce, and I was starving, and the hunger just kept growing. And I found the meat. Y'all, I found where the steak is, okay? We're about to have some fine dining. Believers are spiritually malnourished. And this is why. So mark your calendars for January 1st. Yep, Ren says drinking from a fire hose. It is amazing. Yes, absolutely. Mark your calendars, January 1st. I'll be back here next week. I don't know what my topic is yet, but I want to do some weekly videos to help kind of get us ready, prepare us, and encourage us. Make sure you invite your friends. It's only about 7 weeks, and that is a very short time, I promise. Time is going to pass very quickly between now and then. And if they're not in by January 1st, they have to wait another year. Yes, Melody says, also the word is never boring. Sometimes I'm holding onto my seat when we read. Absolutely. Yes. Oh, Susan, that's wonderful. So y'all, also, I want to tell you something else. I see a lot of people say, oh, you're going to love joining this group of ladies. And that there is a lot of ladies in here, but this is not a ladies only Bible study. This is a group of people who want to read the Word of the Father. And the only requirements for being part of this group is that you want to read His Word. And you can be kind. We have people in here from all walks of life. We have people from all walks of this faith. We have people who are not of this faith who want to read His Word. And that's the only thing that's required. And we have a lot of men in this group. We have a lot of men on our admin team, and they are precious, highly valued, and very dear to us. We are brothers and sisters from all walks of life, but we are of one accord in many things, and that's what we focus on. And so I know a lot of ladies went through this last time, the last reading cycle, and their husbands have joined. And so that is a wonderful, precious thing. If you can get your husband to join, have him join. I read through the Bible daily with my husband, and doing it as a team, whew, what an impactful thing. That is a wonderful thing, and the peace that it will bring into your home. Now, if you have a spouse, whether you are male or female, if you have a spouse who does not share your passion for the word, we're going to learn a lot about that this year too. And just know that they will be blessed for your steadfastness. They will be blessed through your commitment to the Father. So don't give up. Be encouraged, because He will do mighty things. Daniel 10:12 is a really precious verse to me. I read it when I first started trying to read the Word, and it says, from the moment you set your heart to understand, your prayers have been heard. And I've come because of those prayers. So from the moment we set our hearts to understand His Word, He hears us. We set our hearts to understand His Word. We pray for Him to help us do that. And He's going to meet us there. And so be encouraged. Be encouraged. I love y'all. I'm going to let you go now. And I will check out some of the comments later on today. I've got a lot of housework to do today. I have somebody who knew I had retired from my other job, which was more than full-time. They asked a friend, what's Christy doing nowadays? Like, they couldn't possibly understand what I would do with all that time. And they said, well, she's studying the Bible, she's reading the Bible, she's working on her house, she's taking care of her family. And I am loving it. I am absolutely loving it. I love that I have the bulk of my time. I try to spend the bulk of my time in the Word and seeking Him. And I got a lot of writing I'm doing as well. And so, yeah, I'm working on all that. But today, Friday, is a busy day for us. I get us ready to just enjoy our time with the Father, to just enjoy our Sabbath rest. And a lot of that, my husband, he has his full-time job. And so the Father gives me the bulk of Friday. He's my employer. And he gives me the bulk of Friday to work on that so that we can, so that's my main job on Friday, is being prepared so my family can enjoy our rest and our time, our dedicated worship time over the weekend. So y'all have a wonderful week. I love you. I love you. And I'm so grateful to be able to study His Word with you. And I look forward, for those of you who are new, I look forward to getting to know you better. You know, together, in this group, we're not seeking to be right. We're seeking what is right, knowing that He is the source of righteousness. Y'all have a blessed week. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May He make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May He lift up His countenance upon you and give you peace. And the peace we're seeking is a wholeness of peace that can only come from Him. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.